this is a great opportunity for the Pacific to come to the Caribbean and to learn of the experiences of the Caribbean in terms of agri-food. Food import bills into Caribbean is huge, and the issue of struggle at this point in time within the Caribbean is why and how can we reduce the food import bill and do things within the Caribbean using our own soils and get things going for our respective countries and economies. I think for us in Vanuatu, that sends a very clear message to us. The IFC has made its own study. IFC is the World Bank's International Finance Corporation on the imports of carrots, broccoli, and other agricultural produce from abroad, from Australia, from other places into Vanuatu. It should make us worry and wonder why we keep on going, continuing to import all this produce from overseas when we have organic soils in Vanuatu. And that is a fact, and we know that. I say to some, we have organic soils, organic produce by default. This event this week in Bridgetown, Barbados, is a very, very important event because it not only provides an opportunity for Pacific policymakers and private sector stakeholders to be able to participate and to understand what is going on in this particular sector, but it's also giving us an opportunity to learn of the experiences of the Caribbean. The Caribbean is ahead of us in many ways, but they struggle with more or less similar issues that we are facing in the Pacific. And so our participation is important. It's important in the sense that it's helping to highlight issues that will help us in the Pacific to move forward, to be able to achieve economic development using agriculture and tourism in a much more cohesive and coherent way than we have ever done before. For so many years, tourism has had its own policy. Agriculture has had its own ways of doing things, and recently we've introduced the agriculture policy of Vanuatu for the first time in 35 years. But there is one missing link. There is not enough connectivity between agriculture and tourism, which is one of the key reasons why we are here in the Caribbean this week, between the 2nd and 6th of November 2015, to be able to address this critical connectivity much more proactively and to help the Pacific also move back to the Pacific region with information, important information and experiences and experience, learning from our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean to help us achieve the kinds of results that the Caribbean also wants to achieve. And on that note, I'd like to say a very big thank you and acknowledgement to the EU ACP, intra-ACP funding project that has helped to bring quite a number of delegates from the Pacific to this forum in the Caribbean this week. One of the issues raised by the Ambassador of Vanuatu during his interventions is the need to be able to get private sector interests meeting together. That's one important thing. Why? Because before we talk about policies in governments on government side, private sector is already doing things. So private sector needs to cooperate and talk and collaborate more and discuss and get things going at private sector level. They are the ones that will make the economy move, especially from the way they conduct business in the economy to help things move forward. The other thing is, which is one of the key factors of this week's program, is Agrifood, promotion of Agrifood through the work of chefs, through engaging chefs for development, and that's a big issue that's being addressed this week. There will be a very specific event at the end of this week on chefs for development, which is something we want to promote across the ACP to help utilize more agriculture to enter into tourism, to make use of the tourism numbers that are continuing to flow into the Caribbean and the Pacific, but we are not tapping enough of the resources out of that simply because we are not able to access this market strategically. But in Vanuatu, we've done quite a number of things. And imagine that Nandi was in July. We've already gone ahead to set up an agri-tourism task force We're going to sign the agreement next week in Port Vila to help drive and push the grouping forward to try and achieve important development issues, development targets and strategies to address agri-tourism. It's a major challenge to be able to enter into this linkage, but we need to start somewhere. So that's one key issue that we have already started on. The other one is an agri-tourism policy, and that's something we're going to work very closely on with the EU ACP CTA, who has facilitated our coming to this event. They are going to work with us and stand with us to help us work on addressing this agri-tourism policy, which will comprise a number of things on issues of health, connectivity to health, to education, as well as to other sectors that are going to help us target and address, effectively meet our requirements and our desire to make tourism deliver for agriculture to help us increase development in those sectors. One of the key leading figures on climate change from the SEEDS, Small Island Developing States, is a Pacific Islander by the name of the President of Kiribati, who's been speaking all over the world, and he has also even spoken recently at the IFAD Regional Roundtable and workshop that was held in Bali, Indonesia, on important issues of climate change and the impact that climate change has to do with Pacific Island countries. I think one main reason why the Pacific is leading on this particular subject is basically because of the many low-lying islands that we have in the Pacific that have already faced the major challenge of climate change. So I think that's an important factor, which is why the Pacific is leading in a way in addressing the issue of climate change. And not only that, but the Ambassador of Vanuatu is very, very vocal, very active in process on issues of seeds that are related to climate change. Very interesting concept, which is why I have spoken all along in the media in Vanuatu, in meetings, about the importance of looking at light processing. Why? Because the market base for raw produce in the country is too small. So it is important for us to look at processing, downstream processing, to target the tourism market, and which is why it is very, very important for us to continue to tackle agro-tourism, even from a downstream processing side of things perspective.
When you're talking about light processing, what do you mean?
See, this week when we visit a number of manufacturing places and spots here in Barbados, we looked at cassava flour production, chips from sweet potatoes, and these are two classic examples of how entrepreneurs here in Barbados have been able to utilize our raw produce to do processing to target the tourism market and to target those that are interested in eating this processed food. And we don't need to have to go look elsewhere. We can do that locally. Very, very basic technology that we can use to downstream process our produce.